Today on Central Illinois on the Record, President Obama delivers his final State of the Union address, what he said and how Republicans are responding. Plus, Republicans debate for the first time in 2016 how they're gearing up for the Iowa caucuses. And coming up short, what schools in Illinois are saying about their lack of teachers.
Now, from your local election headquarters, this is Central Illinois on the Record.
Welcome to Central Illinois on the Record. I'm Paul Cicchini. Governor Bruce Rauner shares his thoughts on the budget and his first year in office with a one-on-one interview with WMBD. The governor blames Democrats for holding the state hostage. As he's told our Matt Porter, despite the pain the lack of a budget has caused Illinois, he plans to stay the course.
I'm a personal big funder of scholarships for low-income kids. I'm a big advocate for scholarships. I will always push hard. It's frustrating to me no end that we're not funding our MAP grants.
But despite frustrations from all sides, Governor Bruce Rauner said the state can't fund tuition for low-income college students without a budget.
Well, what we can't do is get to a $5 billion deficit one bill at a time.
Rauner says Democrats passed more than 500 bills last year, but none of them included revenue to fund their spending plan.
None of them raised taxes to pay for any of their unbalanced budget. None of them fixed the pension, which we all acknowledge is broken and is in crisis.
Rauner says he won't be bullied into passing an income tax increase.
If the Democrats believed that the right thing to do is just put in a big tax hike, they could do it.
Rauner says part of the budget problem are court orders and consent decrees that have kept most of the state funded. Rauner says they're keeping him from enacting cost-effective reforms.
We need to change our system so we're running the government the right way.
But advocates say Rauner's plan would destroy the protections established for the vulnerable during political battles.
The reality is that whether it's children in child welfare or whether it's the disabled in this state, these are not people who have a super PAC.
They say the real way to reform is passing a budget.
There's a very simple way for the governor to get rid of these consent decrees, and that is to actually comply with their terms.
The governor will have his chance to make his case to lawmakers in his State of the State address in less than 2 weeks. Now, if you were hoping for progress this week, you're going to be disappointed. The Senate was the only chamber in the Capitol Wednesday, but it didn't take any major votes. Senators were scheduled to return the following day, but that was canceled. 2016 is largely picking up where 2015 left off, as lawmakers still can't answer the big question whether a budget deal will get done at all.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of movement to coming up with an agreement at this point, so if I had to speculate, I think it's going to be a bit while longer before any type of budget agreement is in place.
Are we addressing the state's most important priorities here today? We're not. We're not talking about putting term limits on the ballot.
Both chambers are scheduled to return January 27th. That is the day Governor Rauner will deliver his State of the State address. Members of the Higher Education Commission on the Future Workforce meeting Tuesday to come up with ideas to address needs in the field of education. They want to focus on keeping students in college while providing as many resources as possible. The executive director of the Illinois Board of Higher Education says one of the goals is to give students a more well-rounded education, providing a better chance at getting a job.
Thousands and thousands of jobs standing open in Illinois already because employers can't find people with the right college degrees and credentials to fill them.
Another focus of the commission is to get adults back in school. The commission says by analyzing regional needs, it allows communities to build a partnership between employers and colleges to bring students back. Central Illinois is feeling the impact of a statewide teaching shortage. The Illinois Association of Regional Superintendents says 75% of districts in Central Illinois are feeling the crunch. CIOTR spoke with the superintendent of Washington Community High School, who says he's seeing fewer candidates applying for open positions. He says it could be because of changes at the state level over the pension system or a shift in attitude toward education.
You can make a difference in a student's life, and you don't find out about it until 15 to 20 years after the fact. And they come back and they say something to you, and you're like, wow, I never would have guessed.
The study does mention some solutions, among them tweaking regulations to support teachers and enhancing recruiting in state and beyond Illinois' borders. Peoria District 150 says it would support a program designed to prepare promising teachers for urban education. The proposal is in collaboration with Illinois State University and will look to create a pipeline for future teachers. Called CTEP, the program promotes clinical experiences and introduces revamped curriculum at the university level. It includes a 16-week semester course and mentoring for undergraduate students. Supporters say future teachers will be able to learn more about their roles in the context of the culture of their students' communities.
A lot of STEM professionals and educators who are doing what they're supposed to do. They know math, science, I'm forgetting one, engineering like they know the back of their hand. However, they don't know adolescent culture, or they may not know adolescent culture. They may not understand particular ethnic groups' ways of learning.
The program would also focus on science and math. The district expects to receive a written proposal in 8 to 10 weeks. Small businesses in Illinois are dealing with some big problems. Reports show the state's business climate has yet to show any improvement in recent years. One example, a survey from Thumbtack.com showing the land of Lincoln gets Fs for starting businesses, employment, and its tax code and licensing. But some business owners say they're not paying attention to surveys.
I just want the support of the local downtown people. That includes the government, that includes the state employees.
Illinois did get some passing grades, including a C for environmental regulations and a C- for both zoning and ease of hiring. Manufacturing is also struggling, losing more than 14,000 jobs in Illinois during the first months of 2015. It's the biggest decline the state's seen since the recession in 2009 and 2010. You may remember our reports on a number of 2015 layoffs at local manufacturing powerhouses, including Caterpillar. But the industry hasn't seen a decline this big since the first 11 months of 2009. Then, Illinois said goodbye to 75,600 jobs in the field. Jennifer Daly, CEO of the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, says both our region and the state as a whole must better diversify within the manufacturing industry.
The fact that our state has not been stable, we have not had stability. It is very challenging for a company to make a decision to make a huge investment here.
The Greater Peoria EDC is also working with local manufacturing agencies and schools to recruit more students to join the industry. A task Daly says is complicated by the state budget crisis and recurring news of layoffs. Peoria lost 1,200 jobs during the first 11 months of 2015. Still ahead, Republicans are back on the trail, what they had to say during the first debate of 2016. But first, it could soon be easier to sign up to vote, while lawmakers are considering automatic voter registration. If you forget to renew your license plate, you could catch a break. A bill in the State House would give drivers a 30-day renewal grace period. Secretary of State's office stopped mailing renewal reminders in November, saving the state around $450,000 a month. The number of drivers renewing, though, has dropped in the last few months compared to past years.
People should be aware of when their registration expires. Make sure that they get their license renewed in a timely manner. But I don't think we should penalize them for going beyond the deadline.
If passed, the bill would have immediate effect. It could soon be easier to register to vote in Illinois. A proposed bill, if passed, would automatically sign you up when you renew or update your driver's license or state ID. Under current law, if a voter wants to register at the driver's license facility, he or she must fill out a separate form. Bill sponsor, State Senator Andy Manar, says it could save the state some money.
It would make the process incredibly efficient and as least expensive as I think we can make it as a government.
The legislation was introduced last spring and should be called for a vote in the near future. Undocumented immigrants driving with a temporary visitor's driver's license, however, would not be able to register under this bill. For the first time in 2016, Republican candidates for president hit the debate stage. Fox Business hosted the affair in North Charleston, South Carolina. Notably absent from the main event, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and businesswoman Carly Fiorina.
The gloves are off.
You're worried most of all about keeping your homes and your families safe and secure. You cannot give Hillary Clinton a third term of Barack Obama's leadership.
We need to unite behind the winner so that we can defeat Hillary Clinton, because she is a disaster.
She wouldn't just be a disaster. Hillary Clinton is disqualified from being Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
The top 7 candidates in the Republican race stood shoulder to shoulder, hoping to convince voters why they should be the pick for president.
Our children and grandchildren are counting on us to get it done.
But a good portion of the debate pitted the number 1 and the number 2 candidates in the polls, Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, not about electability, but on eligibility to be president.
Back in September, my friend Donald said that he had had his lawyers look at this from every which way, and there was no issue there. There was nothing to this birther issue. Now, since September, the Constitution hasn't changed. But the poll numbers have.
If for some reason he beats the rest of the field, if for some, see, they don't like that. They don't like that. But, no, they don't like that he beats the rest of the field because they want me.
But why now? Why are you raising this issue now?
Because now he's doing a little bit better.
These candidates know time is ticking for voters to make up their minds.
If we manage to damage ourselves and we lose the next election, this nation is over as we know it.
I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
The Republican presidential candidates will meet again January 28th in Iowa. Democrats will debate tonight in South Carolina. And when they do meet tonight, former Governor Martin O'Malley will get to participate. He's averaging 4.6% in Iowa. NBC had said candidates would need to be averaging at least 5% nationally or in one of the states with an upcoming contest. O'Malley barely cleared the bar, thanks to the network's willingness to round up his percentage. Both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders had called on NBC News to include O'Malley in the debate. Well, the race is on to replace the McLean County Board Chairman. We'll tell you who's lining up to fill that seat. But first, President Obama delivers his final State of the Union address, what he said and how Republicans are responding.
You're watching Central Illinois on the Record.
President Obama gave his last State of the Union speech Tuesday night. It was decidedly optimistic, pledging to do all he can to unite a fractured country during his last few months in office. As Michelle Kaczynski reports, predictably, his critics are pouncing.
The President of the United States! Entering the Capitol for his final State of the Union address. President Obama was met with such energy, it took a good 5 minutes to get started.
Let's bring this to order here. For this final one, I'm going to try to make it a little shorter. I know some of you are anxious to get back to Iowa. I've been there.
He acknowledged the difficulties he's faced.
We won't agree on health care anytime soon. But, oh, applause back there.
But wasted no time in repeatedly, sharply digging Republican candidates for their criticism.
Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction. Well, so is all the rhetoric you hear about our enemies getting stronger and America getting weaker. And our answer needs to be more than tough talk or calls to carpet bomb civilians. That may work as a TV soundbite, but it doesn't pass muster on the world stage. We need to reject any politics that targets people because of race or religion.
A sentiment that, interestingly, was echoed in the Republican rebuttal by South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley.
During anxious times, it can be tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices. We must resist that temptation.
Donald Trump tweeted that the president's speech was boring, slow, lethargic. Senator Ted Cruz didn't attend it, but said this:
I will apologize to nobody for my commitment to kill the terrorists.
One of President Obama's goals here was optimism, which lately the White House uses to try to build a contrast with how they see the Republican field.
60 years ago, when the Russians beat us into space, we didn't deny Sputnik was up there. We didn't argue about the science or shrink our research and development budget. We built a space program almost overnight, and 12 years later, we were walking on the moon. That spirit of discovery is in our DNA. Let's make America the country that cures cancer once and for all.
That statement brought both sides of the aisle to its feet. In a room filled with guests as diverse as a Syrian refugee, nuns suing the administration over Obamacare, American Muslims, and Kim Davis. The president conceding that the politics remains a barrier.
It's one of the few regrets of my presidency that the rancor and suspicion between the parties has gotten worse instead of better.
Calling on individual Americans to set aside cynicism and vote.
Because I believe in you, the American people. And that's why I stand here as confident as I have ever been that the state of our union is strong.
Still to come, the search continues for a buyer in the Twin Cities, what local leaders are saying about selling the former Mitsubishi plant. But first, the state of the city, what the mayor says about the future of Bloomington.
You're watching Central Illinois on the Record.
Bloomington's mayor is looking at the future with plenty of optimism, despite some challenges in 2015. That was Terry Renner's message during the State of the City speech at Monday's council meeting. Lindsay Harrison has more from the Twin Cities.
We certainly are demonstrating that we have bragging rights to being the jewel of the Midwest.
In his third State of the City speech, Bloomington Mayor Terry Renner said the city has made some major improvements over the last year, especially in government transparency.
People can look inside City Hall and see what they're paying for, and we've got awards from the Illinois Policy Institute for openness and transparency. I'm very proud of that.
Renner also cited improved economic development, like the opening of Hy-Vee and being named the best e-commerce city in Illinois. But he says the city has also seen some major challenges.
We've had budgetary challenges over the last year, and we've stepped up to the plate and met them. We're still wrestling with, obviously, possible budget cuts.
Including the huge hit both Bloomington and Normal took when the Mitsubishi plant shut down production in November.
We're looking to figure out what to do with that facility in the future.
City and state officials are still looking for a buyer for the plant. According to State Senator Jason Barackman, finding a buyer has been a struggle.
Unfortunately, I've heard information from at least one of the prospective buyers that they're frustrated with the state of affairs in our state. They're frustrated by the high cost of doing business in our state.
The original hope was that one of the big three automakers might be interested in buying the plant, but Senator Barackman says that hasn't panned out. Despite the plant closing and the budgetary issues Bloomington has seen, Mayor Renner says he's looking forward to the future.
Bloomington's a great place, and we are making great progress.
In Bloomington, Lindsay Harrison, WMBD News.
Mayor Renner says the key to Bloomington's future will be continued transparency and investment, especially downtown. Now, Mitsubishi, of course, still looking, as you heard, for a new automaker to take over its plant in Normal. That's according to the task force and Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council. This comes after a Japanese newspaper reported the company was giving up on finding a buyer. EDC Vice President Mike O'Grady says as far as the council and task force are concerned, nothing's changed. Their Mitsubishi contacts say the company has not given up. In Central Illinois, the group is still looking at other potential possibilities. Former McLean County Board Chairman Matt Sorensen pleading not guilty to 5 counts of wire fraud Wednesday in federal court. If convicted, he faces up to 20 years for each charge, according to our news partner, WJBC. Sorensen could also be forced to pay $400,000 in restitution. Now, he turned in his letter of resignation Tuesday. Sorensen's accused of working with another man, writing reports to get money from State Farm and another company for work that was never done. The board's vice chairman, John McIntyre, says McLean County is ready to move forward.
Any time when there's a governmental body, if there's a vacancy, there's always going to be some change in leadership. But primarily, most of our board members know that the best thing for us to do is provide solidarity and stay together.
McIntyre says he's interested in becoming chairman. The board will elect a new chair on Tuesday. Meantime, a separate election will be held in March to fill Sorensen's now empty seat in the county's 2nd district. Mike Sumner, Scott Murphy, Diane Benjamin, and Garth Nicholas have filed as write-in candidates. Still to come, understanding how law enforcement is changing in the new year. What a local state representative had to say about police reform. But first, a new bill that should have every elected official on their best behavior. A look at legislation that would allow voters to recall just about anyone. A bill proposed in the State House would hold all elected officials to a higher standard. The measure would allow people to recall all elected leaders, not just the governor or the mayor of Chicago. That would include, among others, county board members, mayors, aldermen, even school board officials, all holding them to the same standard. Now, if passed, the bill would require a constitutional amendment. A new year means new laws and plenty of changes. Democratic State Representative Jahan Gordon Booth took some time to explain how recent changes would impact her constituents. As CIOTR's Marvis Herring explains, talk of police reform pushed its way front and center.
We shouldn't be afraid, period. Leotis Wesley has lived in Peoria for more than 20 years. He was among the dozens who showed up Tuesday night at Representative Gordon Booth's town hall meeting. He wanted to learn more about what lawmakers are doing to ensure more integrity among police in the state.
If something needs to be done. I witnessed it firsthand with covering up.
But as the Democratic representative explained, there are wheels turning to make a change. Senate Bill 1304, a police reform bill, took effect at the start of 2016. It creates policies for independent investigations, prohibits chokeholds, and lays out rules for body cameras.
The body cameras, I love that idea.
Right now, my hope is that this year the city of Peoria would be able to get body cameras.
Representative Gordon Booth explained body cameras won't break eavesdropping laws, and traffic tickets will now carry a $5 surcharge to cover the cost of the cameras. Both Gordon Booth and Wesley now agree there's no reason Peoria should not equip their officers with the devices.
There's no reason not to have them at this point. There were a couple of issues that had to be dealt with.
We all are people, and we all deserve to be treated right. Everyone.
Dr. Rita Ali of the Police Community Relations Committee explained that starting in February, everyone at the Peoria Police Department will have to go through cultural competency training. Representative Gordon Booth supports that requirement. Finally, while lottery officials across the country are still sorting through winners of the record-setting Powerball drawing, schools in Illinois, they've already won. Each year, the billions made from lottery sales is split. Most goes to prizes, but a little more than a quarter goes to schools, roads, and other private causes. Last year, the Illinois Lottery gave more than $600 million to education, about 8% of the state's school budget.
It's important, 8%, and without it, we would certainly be in much deeper of a hole with more challenges than we see today. I think it was oversold. I think it was sold as a way to cure the ills and the challenges we face with school funding, many years ago. We still face those challenges today because the state government has failed to own the problem.
Since its inception in the 80s, payouts have gone up while funding for education has dropped. Lottery revenue used to cover 20% of the budget. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Central Illinois on the Record. You can stay in touch with us using social media. Connect with WMBD and me on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag CIOTR. We will see you next week.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of WMBD, WIZZ, or Nexstar Broadcasting Group.